Patchwork is a digital adaptation of the two-player tile-laying tabletop game of the same name designed by Uwe Rosenberg. It was developed by Digidiced and published by Asmodee Digital. In Patchwork, players are trying to create the best kilt using cloths of different shapes. The goal of the game is to have the highest points at the end, and the game ends once these two markers, one for each player, has reached the last space on the center of the time board here. The game is played in a series of turns between the two players. During your turn, you can do one of two actions. You can either purchase a cloth or you can pass. Let's explain purchasing a cloth first. During your turn, you'll be presented with 3 options of cloths to purchase. When it's your turn to purchase, cloths that you can afford will be highlighted. The cost of each can be found on tags beside the cloths. You'll also find buttons printed on some cloths, but we'll explain that later. Buttons, one of the printed costs, is the main currency of the game. You can find your current number of buttons here on the lower left side of the screen, and we'll explain in a bit how you'll able to earn more. The second cost you'll find on the cloths is time. The time printed on the cloth you choose to purchase will be the number of steps your marker on the time board will move. Once your marker arrives at the last space, the game will end for you, even if your opponent's marker isn't there yet. And remember that the game ends once both markers reach the last space. After purchasing a cloth, this neutral marker will take the place of the purchased cloth. The options for cloths will always be the next 3 in the queue on the right side of the neutral marker. And take note that you can always see up here the upcoming cloths and the order in which they will appear in, for you to be able to plan ahead. You can also drag the cloth queue to the right or to the left to see upcoming cloths. These are randomly arranged at the start of the game. On the time board, you'll find button icons in between certain steps. Once a player passes one of these buttons, they immediately gain an income of buttons depending on how many button icons they have on their kilt from purchased cloths. You'll find the current amount you have so you won't have to count every time here on the lower left side of the screen. Let's give an example. Let's say we wanted to purchase this piece of cloth. This will cost us 1 button and 4 time. After choosing the cloth, we'll be given the option of how we'd like to position it on our kilt. And after deciding, we'll see everything we've discussed so far be automatically resolved. Instead of purchasing a cloth, you can instead pass to earn buttons. When passing, your marker will move a number of steps until you have passed your opponent's marker. Each step taken with this action will earn you 1 button. At this point, I'd like to explain how turn order works in the game. At the start of the game, the turn order is randomized, but for every succeeding turn, whoever's marker is behind on the time board, it's that player's turn. As you can tell, both actions you do in the game advances your marker. If after carrying out an action, your marker is still behind your opponent's, then you still get to take another turn until you pass your opponent's marker. If a marker ends up on top of the other player's, then it's still the player whose marker is on top who gets to take an action. Another thing you'll find on the time board are these special patches. Once a player's marker reaches a special patch, they immediately gain it and must immediately place it on their kilt. These special patches are the only way to fill single spaces on your kilt. The last thing we need to explain is the 7x7 special tile. The player to first fill a complete 7x7 square of spaces on their kilt will receive the special tile that is worth 7 points at the end of the game. Again, the game ends once both player markers reach the last space at the center of the time board, in which case, scoring commences. You score 1 point for each remaining button you have, you lose 1 point for each uncovered space in your kilt, and the player who received the special tile will score 7 additional points. And the player with the most points win. And that's everything you need to know to play Patchwork. Thanks for watching.